So now that you understand the big picture, we're going to create the HTML that's going to be used in this example. We're going to be performing various calculations based on an e-commerce premise. Our form is going to take price, quantity, discount amount, tax rate, and shipping cost, and then we're going to use a PHP script that's going to handle the form and return a total cost. We're going to break that cost down by the number of payments that the user wants to make in order to generate a monthly cost value. So our form is going to take numbers from the user and then send them to a PHP page. The PHP script is going to perform the calculations on the submitted data and output the results. First, though, we need the HTML. The page that I'm going to start working with is just a basic HTML5 page. I've already created an H1 and an H2, and I have a form tag. You see here that I'm going to be using a method of post. Currently, I don't have any value set for the action. We'll plug that in a little bit later on. Our basic form is going to provide the numbers for various mathematical calculations over multiple PHP scripts. I'll begin by creating a field set inside of my form tag. The field set isn't really necessary for this example, but it's going to provide a nice line that will appear around the elements on my page. Inside my field set, I'm going to have a legend, and the legend is just going to provide a label for the form itself. It's not necessary, but it just helps with usability. I'm going to create my form by making a series of label and input tags. For usability, I'm going to tie the for attribute to the ID that I will assign to that particular input tag. So all of my IDs and for values are going to match. For usability, I'm going to add the name attribute as well, and we'll just have that be the exact same value. And for this particular example, I think I'll have the labels appear first. I'm not going to have them wrap around the form input fields. So I'll have my label, then I'll have the input field, and then I'm just going to create a break tag. I'll repeat this for the next few input fields that I'm going to be using. They are going to be very similar. The only real difference is that the next input field is going to have a different type. Instead of using a type of text, I'm going to change this to a number type. HTML5 does have a number input type. It's naturally suited to taking integer values. And for that reason, the quantity input, which we're working on now, is going to always be a number type, where the others, like price, you would think that this would be a numeric value, but remember, somebody might want to enter the price with a $sign or something like that. So we'll leave this as text. But for quantity, we'll definitely be using the number type. In addition to the number type, I'm going to assign the name and ID of quantity, and I will assign a minimum value of 1 and also an initial value of 1. This will ensure that 1 is the default value. So if we save our form and we look at it so far, you can see that the quantity field is already showing with 1. And then I have these little up and down arrows that I can use to adjust the actual value of the quantity. I'll use my break tag, and then I'm going to create the next label input field group, which is going to be for discount. This is just going to use a text type. Then we'll create a label input group for tax. For tax, I'm going to require a minimum amount of 1. And now we're going to make the shipping selection. We're going to use a drop-down menu to do this. And I'll go ahead and specify some option values here. For the option values, I'm going to have the text display in the drop-down menu, but you can see that I'm assigning each of these text fields a specific value. So the value is what we're going to use in the calculation. If the user selects put a move on it, it's going to send in $8.95 into my script. Our form now looks like this. The last input field that I need is going to be the number of payments. And just like one of the earlier fields, I'm going to assign a type of number to this field and a minimum value of 1 and a default value of 1. And then finally, to make our form work, we're going to need a submit button. So I'll just have the submit button have text that says calculate. So here's what our final form is going to look like. And let me just get a break tag after my select box. There we go. So that is our form. The CSS that I'm using is CSS that I used in an earlier form from this class, so I'm just repurposing something that I already had. Here's the CSS. I'll just go through it quickly. I'm using box sizing of border box on all elements. I have some general settings that I have on the body tag. My field set has a text color, a border radius, a width, and a border setting. My labels are set to inline block. I have some margin, and I'm aligning the text to the right as well as the minimum width. My input fields are going to display as inline block elements. The text will vertically align to the middle. I have a width setting, margin and padding, border, a box shadow on the inside of the input fields, and a border radius. Here's the rules that I have for my select box: padding, display of inline block, a border, a box shadow, border radius, and a height. And then I have my CSS styling for the submit button. So I'm just setting the color to be a teal and the text color to be white. And that's pretty much it in regards to the page itself. I am going to need to populate my action portion of my form. The action attribute is going to indicate how the form data is going to be submitted. We're going to be submitting our form data to a page. So I'm going to go ahead and put the name of the PHP page that I'm going to be using that is going to handle the details of parsing the data that is collected from my form. I'm going to call my PHP page formcalculations.php, and I already specified that my method be set to post. I'm going to save this page, and in the next video we'll build our PHP page out.